Hi. Yeah. I need to make a note. There's a couple of, whenever I have some thought that pops into my head, February 1st moon baby. This is the perfect February. We start on a Sunday and end on a Saturday. It's the perfect 4 weeks, the way every month should be. It's beautiful. Okay, I have to remember. Perfect. Oh my goodness. Wait till I say that. That's hilarious. Hi. How are you? So I'm just going to give it. Oh, yeah. I have to share. Sharing is caring. All right. Hello, Sha'Ryah. Let's share on this one too. We're going to hang out. We're going to talk. We're going to. Hello. How are you doing? How are you doing? Hello, Reese. I have to be focused a little bit when I'm sharing it to people, because otherwise I forget who I left off with. And then people get multiple invites to my live, and I don't want to do that. But once I'm done sharing it to everybody, then you'll have my undivided attention. So as much as you can. I mean, let's be real. The birds outside my window, the squirrels, my dog, there's many things that could very quickly capture my attention. So I do say I try to give you my undivided attention, but we'll see how that goes. I'm just going to give it a minute and let the notifications go out that I'm live. This is weird when you go to your Facebook and you see yourself on there, and it's, there's a little bit of a delay that happens subtly. So it's weird, but I just wanted to share that. But I'm going to close it. So that's very distracting. How are you? How's it going? Where are you logging in from? Hi. Oh, I'll take love from Belize, and I'll give it right back from Canada. Lots of love. We can send love all around the world. And yeah, we could have a big live just filled with all kinds of love, and send that out to all that are reaching out and asking for it, right? Energetically, we can do that. I think right now a lot of people could use it too. We're continually being inundated with stuff that's very difficult to watch if you have access to humanity or your soul or so on, right? All that stuff that we're seeing, even for those of us that knew, right? Even those of us that knew what was going on, that we, like the conspiracy theorists, the one that had the ideas of what's been going on around the world, just because it doesn't mean that when the information comes out that it's not disorienting, or it's not re-traumatizing, or it's not heavy. Good afternoon, love. How are you, Lisa? It's good to see you, friend. So yeah, so I talk about a few different things. But yeah, I just like to be in alignment with nature and with all life, Like at the very end of it, that's what I'm about. And I call that Christ consciousness and the Krystic Path, or the Christ Sophia path, because it should be. Sophia is a big part of it, right? We need that divine feminine aspect. But at the end of the day, what I truly believe that I'm teaching is, or what I'm talking about, or what I'm sharing, has to do with alignment. Hello, Pankush. How are you, love? Right? It's about alignment. So how do we walk in harmony with everything else around us? One of the things that I like to teach is how to work with the living sky so that we can pay attention to where the planets are, in what constellations, and how this energy may be affecting us through certain gates, is what it is. So the moon is the gate of emotion and memory. So it's your emotional landscape. When you watch the moon traverse through the signs, and yesterday was in Ophiuchus, and Ophiuchus is a rebirthing energy, a resurrection energy. So yesterday you could have felt like this, just really, maybe on Tuesday some truths were coming up. And so, then the next day is where you rebirth yourself based on the truth that you now know. And then we move into Sagittarius. So now we're moving forward. Today is the day that we start to move forward. We're moving forward more aligned. You should be feeling emotionally more clear today. So these are the things that I teach. And like I said, today we're going to talk about Christ consciousness, and don't let that intimidate you in any way. It has zero to do with religion. So that's, if you can incorporate it into religion, but it's not necessarily meant to be viewed through that lens. It's for everybody. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to put this, I have different streams going too. So if you're seeing me looking here, it's one stream, here's another stream, and then up top is another stream. But I just put all the comments over here. So if you see me looking over here, it's because I'm checking on comments. If I have them, I have to have some show notes or I forget everything that I was going to talk about. So I just struggle with space, space to allow that. Okay. So one of the things that I do is I talk about what I've experienced, where I've been, what I've done, and how I've healed or grown. So these are really a lot of my lived experiences. I was born in the 70s. I experienced an enormous amount of childhood and teenage trauma that left me impacted with CPTSD, or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I operated through anxious attachment. I had definitely relationship problems. I had a relationship problem with myself. I had low worth. I had a lot of things that I had to work through, and I did. I crashed and burned. I've been diagnosed with different disorders and diseases along the way. One being years ago, being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which I do not have. I don't have that, but I was at one point diagnosed with that. And it was a very challenging time in my life, but that led me to healing. So I am very grateful for that. And most often we find that if we really look at the shadows or those challenges, we see that they were actually our biggest teacher, right? Sometimes I think that I'm a really great student and I learn really fast, but then there's many, many other times when I love you, Lisa. There's many other times when I think that I'm very slow to pick up what was being put down. And I butt my head against the wall a lot. But we all do. And we're meant to look at the way that we're circling through our lives and where we're ending up. And the patterns that we keep seeing repeating in our life is where we haven't learned what we needed to learn, right? So if you're struggling with finances, let's say, then there's something that's out of alignment there. There's something that you needed to learn there. And it doesn't have to be that you're doing something wrong and there's definitely nothing wrong with you. It could be very much that you've been handed a belief system from your parents, from your friends, from your school, from society that has altered the way that you view the world. And this is creating a boundary, or it's creating a block, and that's what you're meant to see. So maybe there's a belief system. And I like to talk about this one because many of us experienced it, where we were taught very much to be a good girl or a good boy, right? Parents were teaching us, school was teaching us, be a good girl, be a good boy, in so many ways. And in ways that made us violate our boundaries. Go give him a hug, go give him a kiss goodbye. Doesn't matter if you're saying no, you do it anyway. So you override your own sense of no. And then you combine that with the fact that in society, many of us are given the message that money is the root of all evil. Money corrupts, money does this. So there's all these negative connotations surrounding money. So how do you be a good girl or a good boy and have money? That could be something that's just warring inside of you because of how you were programmed as a child and through society and how you were raised. We're meant to see that pattern come up and go, wait a second, why do I keep doing this? Or why am I still experiencing this? What is it that I'm not doing? Sometimes it's just a matter of staying the course. Aw. I love you. And that's how we do it. That's how we do it. It's through proximity. Sorry, I'll read the message because that does help. If you're watching here and not knowing what's being said there, it can be very confusing. So Lisa and I have been together for a while, and Lisa worked with me in a sacred journey container years ago. Because I'm focusing, I don't know what it is, but I'll look at the comments when I'm talking to somebody. So I'm just gonna move the comments in front so it doesn't look like I'm staring off like that all the time. Okay. So Lisa and I, we connected a long time ago, and we've had quite a relationship for quite some time. And she did a sacred journey container with me, which was absolutely beautiful. And I have watched her continue to grow in her journey as well. And it's just absolutely fantastic. It's beautiful when you see people growing with you, right? Evolving and flowing and doing that. And it's lovely to see you, Lisa. And I'm so happy that you're hanging out and able to hang out today. Hello, Crystal. How are you? Hi, Jess. So yeah, we're going to hang out. We're going to talk about some of this stuff before I get back on track. But I absolutely love you. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm going to move my comments back out of the way so it doesn't distract me. That's a big part of it, right? If they're here, just like these ones, sometimes I'll be in a space where I'm really channeling, and people can be scared of what channeling means. All channeling means is that you are in alignment. So the stream of information is pure, that's coming through from either your oversoul, higher self, if you want to call it that, the monad, your spirit. There's so many terms. And that's another thing, is that it gets confusing for everybody because they do use a ton of different terms for everything. So, but the language, I mean, when we get to the root of language, there's a truth of it all, but there's somatics, right? There's sound. Sound is important. So we want to be using the true terms for things, but right now, because we have people that have a lot of different terms for stuff, we have to allow that broadness and then bring it down to a more narrow focus, right? Because our words get hijacked because the language is powerful. So something like the divine feminine being taken out of religious texts, or being changed from being parents, being mom and dad, to being to being parent instead of mom and dad, right? For being, instead of a woman, being cis. Like those are changes. The woman, the frequency of that word is powerful. We understand the power of language, but then we let it get changed on us all the time. And there's reasons why they say that we're changing the language, right, to be, say, more inclusive. But when you're calling it a birthing person instead of a mother, or instead of a pregnant woman, though that's a significant switch in the frequency and resonance of what's being said. So we have to reclaim our language. We have to make sure that we're saying those words, right? Because that's what we're here to do, is reclaim our truth. How are we truly meant to live? Sometime a long time ago, somebody came along and said, you know what? I think we can charge people to live here. And I think we can be the bosses. And we'll make all the money. And our families will always, 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 always have the money. Because these people are not as good as we are. So how about we do that? How about we charge these people who we think are less than us the privilege to live in our world? And then we'll charge them for everything else. What do you think? And 13 people, or 13 families, apparently said, let's do this. So now we're paying to be here on something that was like, we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to pay to survive. Let's just put it that way. All right. So we're going to talk about a couple of other things today. That was me just rambling and chatting and, just rolling with it. But we are going to continue to talk about Christ. It's supposed to be like Christmas, how that word would be pronounced, and spelled K-R-Y-S-T when we phonetically, like in historically, but it's been altered. So I say Christ because that's what people are familiar with, but Krystic is what I'm referring to, and that's the eternal light, the path, the way, and Christ consciousness outside of religion. So we're going to talk about this phase, because a lot of what I do is I teach you from where I am or where I have recently been, so that I can kind of guide you through whatever experience I had and some of the tools or some of the other stuff that I've used in order to move beyond it, or some of the practices that I have that you can have as well. So I'm going to talk about how there's times in life when you make changes, but your life hasn't caught up yet, right? And I'm somebody that's been there numerous times. So this is a big lesson that I had to learn. I had to go through that a few times, hitting my head against that same pattern before I recognized that I needed to change something there, right? So what ends up happening, let's say you are building something, and you're building a company, and you made these changes. You have this beautiful idea. It was so aligned. Your heart was so full. You just felt like, yeah, this is a great idea. I'm going to start doing this. And you do it, you put it all together, you launch it, and it's like, like tumbleweeds rolling through, there's like crickets chirping, and you're like, but it was so aligned, and I, like, I've done all this work, and, but the feedback was nothing. Like, what maybe I'm wrong. So then you change it. You decide that there was a big thing that was wrong. You must have been wrong, or the whole project was wrong. And so you toss it all away. And maybe it wasn't that it was you wrong, or that wrong, or anything wrong. It could have been just the time. The time wasn't ready yet. Maybe you rushed it a bit because you were operating through lack mentality and you were like, I got to get this out there so I can get money coming in, right? So the sooner I launch this, been there, done that, sooner I launch this, the sooner I'm going to start getting money back. So let's do it right now. So you rush it. You launch it too soon, or you, or you're just not in, or you're not testing the field and checking it, right? And you can have, I read a comment, and that's why I have the comments over there, because if I have to choose when I look at them, otherwise it bumps it out of my head. So it could have been just some small little tweaks that needed to be changed, right? Maybe you needed to prepare the field better, right? So for me, last year, I went through an enormous amount of change, and I started so many new projects, and I wrote so many new books, and I created so many classes and courses, and oh my goodness, the amount of things I created last year is just mind-boggling. And I was constantly putting another thing out and another thing out and another thing out and another thing out, because the whole year I was like, I put that out and I loved it and it was wonderful. And then it was not hugely received. There wasn't this big financial windfall that came, or even just, a big amount. There wasn't this return on my investment, is what it felt. So I would okay, let's launch another thing. Well, let's try another thing. Well, let's do this thing then. Well, let's create that then. We'll write another book. We'll publish another book. And I didn't realize that the way that it was going through me, you have to meet the pattern and recognize it, and then sit down and look at it, right? So sometimes what this shows up as, so you've done the work and you're waiting for life to kind of show that. It's like the person that goes on a diet and you're waiting for people in the field to go, hey, are you losing weight? And you're waiting to see it in the mirror and go, wow, I'm losing weight. That's awesome. That's what you're waiting for. But when you're not hearing that, when you're not seeing that reciprocated, that can make you feel restless. Right? It's like, where is it? Why isn't it here yet? And maybe you start to reorganize things, and maybe you start to rethink relationships. Maybe you start to question the direction you're going in, or just feel like, should you just act immediately, like do something new, so get another thing out there, just because like that'll relieve that pressure that you're feeling. Growth that outruns embodiment creates fragmentation, right? So if you're growing, like learning, and I talk about this all the time, right? It's like there's levels of everything. So I used to say, if you have a self-help book in your bookshelf that you haven't read, it's not self-help. It's shelf help, because the only thing that's helping is your shelf. It makes your shelf look smart. It makes your shelf look like it's done something, but it's not a self-help book because you haven't used it on the self. And so then, you move through these stages, and there's this evolution and this growth, right? So then you take the book and you read it. Well, that's only the next step. That step is information. It's not until it's applied, actual lived truth. It's not embodiment, right? We need that practical component, because we are, through the temple of our body, physical beings. We can't change that. You don't want to change that, right? Because you're dead. Just saying. If you evolve beyond your body, you are not in the physical anymore. Just letting you know. And as we evolve and raise our vibrations, those things can change and alter. But right now, you're 3D. Okay, so when we take the information and the growth and everything, and we actually allow that to settle into your daily behaviors, that's when it becomes wisdom. right? That's when it becomes a lived truth. And that's what we need for everything. Everything that we have in the world exists because we lived it. We made it true by the choices and actions that we took, right? At any point in time, the whole world could have stood up one morning and looked at each other and went, we shouldn't have to pay to live here, and just decided to just stop paying to live here. And what would anyone do about it? Right? We could have, but we didn't. We agreed. Here's your rent money. Okay, here's your money for groceries. And, we could have made other systems. We could have said, hey, you know what? I do spiritual work, and, I do readings, and, I do all these different things. I write books. How about we trade? We barter something, right? Maybe you have a skill set that I could really use. Or, maybe someone that does. So it's like, it's a barter in that way where everybody's getting something. We have to create the systems to make them. All righty. So most people experience insight as a decision point, but in reality, it's a transition phase. Okay. We're meant to receive the insight and then not immediately act on it. I have Aries rising, so I'm all about acting on things immediately. Like, I make quick decisions. And I remember in previous relationships that was something that really did create friction a lot, because other people think very slowly. Some people, depending on depending on how they are, they can process things very slowly and want to take a lot of time and, compare. And, like my kid's dad, he was a guy that would be reading tons of product reviews, and he would be checking all these different sites and, checking prices and comparing, and on and on and on and on and on. And he would get so tied up in the details and in determining whether or not it was a right decision that he often missed out on things because he wouldn't act. And there I was going, oh my God, I made a decision 17 hours ago. What are you doing? Let's go. Do you want it? Yes. Is it, in your price range? Yes. Is it right here? Yes. So let's just get it. Right. Or whatever it would be. And so, but knowing that I do make decisions quickly, this is one that I have to slow myself down for and sit with. I need to sit with the body and allow that to be what moves me. Because for those that have Aries rising, and I suggest you check your true sidereal if you do have Aries rising. For those that have Aries rising, under true sidereal and Krystic astrology, and I explain on Tuesdays, when I'm talking about astrology, I'm not talking about it in the same way that we've been raised to view astrology. This is not a personality test. It's about working in harmony with the planets and energy. It's really about energy. So your rising sign is how you approach or enter into situations, how you get up in the morning. And so Aries gets up and they're ready, right? And that's me. I actually had to put time in before work so that I didn't just, because I work at home, I would get up in the morning, come in and sit down with my drink and start, my tea, and start working immediately. I would not have any time to wake up. I would grab my tea, sit down and work. And I would stay there working, just go, 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 go. Good old Aries energy. But I was processing through the thoughts, and the thoughts are run by the ego instead of dipping into the body and allowing the intuition to drive. When you are Aries rising, it's very important that you go into the body and allow the body to determine what you're taking action on. Because then you're leading through through intuition, as opposed to just through your logic center, which could be being powered by your ego. depending where you are. So I want you to understand something today. So your habits follow yesterday. Okay. And then this is like one of those statements that when it lands, people are like, yep. So what you did yesterday is how today is showing up. Right? So if yesterday I didn't eat and I went really, really, really heavy with my energy, and like I went go, 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 and I didn't eat and all of that, then the habits from yesterday of not having eaten and also like go, go, go means that today I am probably going to be undernourished. I'm going to be maybe fatigued, probably not running on all the cylinders, right? Because I didn't have good habits yesterday. That's, and if you continue in that pattern, then burnout, right? That's what would happen to me. I would go into burnout. So it might be okay if you have, those one-off days, but it's that habits that you have, and habits are consistency. So what are you consistent with? Okay. So we'll give a couple of examples. A boundary is needed, but you still answer the message, right? How many times do we do that, right? You're like, you put the boundary in, or it is, but then you're still like, okay, I'm gonna answer anyway, right? I did that recently. I'm actually gonna have a conversation with my higher self. I'm gonna sit with myself and talk about that later on. About, oh hey, calling myself out. A routine isn't working, but repeat it automatically. That's another way where our habits are informing today, right? And you just keep doing it instead of changing it. That would be like, that if you have tea in the afternoon, you get jacked up in the evening, not going to bed till late, start scrolling, and next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. and then you're sleeping in really late the next day, right? Knowing that that's the cycle and still participating in it automatically. That's what that's talking about, right? We need to have that insight. Sorry, someone was inviting me to join and I didn't want to. Ooh, I like it. Tell me about your boundaries, your revelation. I like revelations. You see a relationship differently, but keep speaking the same way, right? This isn't about being a hypocrite or anything like that. It's the nervous system timing, okay? Christ consciousness. So this is just energy awareness. There's literally, actually, I'll pull up my other note here. Where's my Christ consciousness? Right here. All right. So I'm going to tell you about I have a bunch of things that I'm working on education-wise on Sha'Ryah. When we're looking at Christ consciousness and the way, right? We're talking about the pillar of purity. The pillar of purity is I clear the path. And what that means is that I am the one that has to do my ancestral clearing. I'm the one that clears my karma. I'm the one that clears the false identity overlays. I'm the one that reconnects to my original self, or to my higher self, or to my oversoul, or to my monad, right? We can go back. I'm the one that connects to my soul and starts living as, right? So like I said, we can have a discussion about language, but because people use this language in all different ways, I just spread them all in there. So and if you have any questions, we can always discuss, right? Education is always the best. Understanding, right? Coming to a mutual understanding is even better. All right. So Christ consciousness is the ability to remain steady during the gap. So it's when you recognize I've made the changes, but the field isn't showing me that yet. It's not resonating back to me yet that people are seeing the changes. So like I said, it's like you're on a diet. You start to, you're doing all the work, but nobody sees it yet, right? So this is, you stay still working. You don't jump off the wagon. You don't say, I'm not going to work out now. Nobody's seen it. Nobody's commenting. So I'm just going to stop doing it. This isn't when you decide, I'm just going to go get a big old cake and sit down and eat the whole thing by myself because nobody's noticed yet, right? Like that, this is where you keep steady through that so that the field responds. What ends up happening a lot of times, though, is that we don't. And because we don't stay steady and we don't allow the field to respond back to us, that surety that we're looking for, we want that confirmation. So because we don't get that confirmation, then we start to wobble. And we're like, oh, I got to change this. I got to change this. Or we self-sabotage. Well, it didn't work. So I guess why change, right? Nobody saw it. Nobody noticed it. Nobody commented on it. And so then we drop, right? So instead of forcing immediate change, you begin adjusting small behaviors repeatedly until that new truth becomes natural. And then the field will slowly respond to that as well. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about spiritual maturity, but a lot of stuff coming up lately. Oh yeah. I only talked about pillar 1. I was going to talk about all 5 pillars. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Pillar 1. So pillar 1 is the clearing of the trauma. And that's what got me off on that other tangent. The pillar 2 is the pillar of presence. And that's, I stand as the living flame. So this is where you anchor into, or anchor the oversoul in. You're no longer, responding from the ego. You're staying within that space of, I know who I am. I'm a sovereign being, and I take responsibility, and I'm aligned with who I am. It's that energy. Hey, Amber. Pillar 3 is the pillar of voice, and that is, I speak only the truth. That's a very important one, right? We need to be speaking the truth. And this isn't necessarily just your truth. This is the divine truth. This is the truth of the truth. This is when you connect into, your memories from many lifetimes, from your oversoul, right? When you're tapped in completely, then you're able to access all of those memories and all of that knowledge that you have. But there are divine truths. I was talking with my friend about that there are divine truths, right? There's divine laws that exist, and those laws, that would be a truth that would be spoken. And no matter what happens, doesn't matter what anyone says or how anyone feels, that ends up being the truth of the truth of the truth, right? So there is a truth of the truth. And when you are in alignment with part 3 is when you're just speaking that truth. And a lot of us are afraid to go there because we lose relationships when we speak the truth, right? The more truth that you speak, the smaller your group, because people can't handle the truth, right? Pillar 4 is the pillar of love. And this is, I walk as love embodied. And this is restoring the Edenic heart template. You are whole. There's no other half that's missing from you. There's no component of you that is requiring something external from anything or anybody. You are whole. You are divine feminine, divine masculine, whole. And this is also about walking the path of the rose flame, which is an exciting path to walk. And then we have pillar 5, which is the pillar of stewardship. And this is about, I hold the field. This is becoming the guardian mirror and the being who holds integrity and coherence, not just with themselves, but with the entire field. right? So with the planets, with the cosmos, with all the beings, with all the light, right? So that's Christ consciousness walking the way. That's the Christ Sophia pathway. That's as simple as that. Yeah. Like, I moved my notes. I'm like, where'd my notes go? I moved my comments. Build boundaries, not walls. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I created a course recently called Return to Center. It's actually a 10-day self-paced, gentle program. And it's got, each day has a small practice that you can do. And it's to help just to return you to center. So return you to yourself, return you to that space where, there's peace, or there's calm, or there's that grounded center presence because of everything that's going on in the world. And so it's a self-paced 10-day class. It's on sale. I'm in Canada, so my prices are Canadian. And it's $33 sale. Like, it's off. It's $33 off. It's $55 Canadian. It's regular price $88, but I have it on sale, $33 off. So it's $55 until the end of February. Okay. That was a mouthful. I don't know why I had such a problem saying that. But it's a beautiful course. It has within it, like I said, each day you have a little lesson, and then within you have a practical thing, because you have to do the embodiment part. You actually have to do something. You have to live it, right? So what is within it is, where did it go? I just wanted to grab my notes on it. Try once more. I lost my notes. They couldn't have gone far. That's it, though. So how's everyone doing? Where are you from? Where are you watching from? Which channel are you on? What do you think about Christ consciousness, or about the Krystic Path, or the Christ Sophia path? What does that sound like to you? I don't know, whatever you want to talk about. We talk about all kinds of things. There's a squirrel outside my window eating right now. All right, I'm going back to mine. Hi, Mika. Hello. Hello, Amanda. Oh my goodness, this is like a reunion. I love it. How are you doing, sweetheart? Hi, Nancy. Where are you in Canada? I'm in Alberta. I'm looking for my notes on this thing. All right, I found it. I found my notes. So as an example of the course, it's 10 days, self-paced. You can take 10 days, you can take longer. Each day is around 30 minutes that you're going to invest in it. That's between having a little mini lesson, a practical thing that you, and a practical thing that you do. So it's all about orientation, stabilization, because I feel like we could really use that, like to really come back home to ourselves right now, because there's so much going on that's pulling our attention in all kinds of different reasons, or in different directions, and on purpose. So how can we draw and bring our attention back to us, back home to ourselves? So it's 10 days. Each day is a different lesson and a practice. And you also get a PDF guide that goes with it. in the guide, it gives you the grounding practice that we did for the day, plus the integration question. And then it also gives you another reflection question, grounding practice, integration thing, and affirmation, I think I did for each of the days. So it gives you a lot to build on. And the whole thing that I hope with at the end of it is that you just find one practice out of all the practices that I've shared throughout those 10 days that you can use and incorporate into your day, and maybe not even your day, maybe it's into your week. It's whatever works for you, because the one that I love to give an example of is energy, right? We're all energy. Everything around us is energy, right? And it's not whether you talk spiritually or you talk quantum physics, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's all energy, right? They talk about how this desk is more space than it is, and they're just little atoms. They're just wiggling, just vibrating to make it feel solid, and that we never actually really touch the desk. It's, right? So this is science. That's what science says. That's not even spirituality. And when you look at it from a spiritual lens, we connect energetically through the field. So when you're out in public and you're around people, we know that we can walk into a room and we can sense heaviness in that room. We can be interacting with somebody and they get mad and we can feel the anger coming off of them. We can walk into a room and feel a heaviness lie upon us and feel like somebody is in grief. We can feel those things. Women are more in tune to that typically, but that's only because of the distortions that when you peel back the veil, then it makes things make more sense and makes things align more easily. Every one of us is masculine and feminine. The suppression of the feminine affects us all. So when they suppressed the divine feminine through all literature and made women seem like they were the reason for all the problems, or that they were weak or whatever it is, it doesn't just affect us as women. It affects everyone that carries feminine energy, which is everything. So there's a very much distortion in the world. I went way off on that. We were talking about energy. So anyway, women are more in tune with that, recognizing energy than men, but that's also because men have been told they don't have feminine energy. So they've been told they are just in their masculine, so they deny it altogether. Women, we do know that we have feminine energy, and we may oppose our feminine energy because it's been made to seem so, unpalatable, like we're weak and, we're so sensitive and whatever else they use. And then they turn us into feminists and that I can do what men can do. And so I'm going to be exactly like a man. And all of these things are just distortions that work against us, and it's not our truth. And we just need to find our truth. So our truth is that we are whole. We are masculine, feminine energy. We are whole. Every single one of us, men, women, it doesn't matter. So you are able to, regardless of your sex or gender, and I'm not getting into that whole conversation, but whatever, you have those energies within you. And we are all, in reality, more androgynous than anything. Now, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't procreate or we wouldn't do all of that stuff. That has nothing to do with it. But we do, because we have the balanced energy within us. And how I show up is how I show up. Maybe I show up a little more in the middle, right? A little feminine, but more towards the masculine line. That's my natural energy. And it's okay. Maybe you're a woman who shows up very much in her feminine energy as your natural space that you like to hold. But we all move through it. When I'm around a bird that just hit the window, I am all feminine energy. I'm holding that bird and taking care of it and nurturing it and applying love to it. And I am soft and I'm receiving. When I'm working and I'm really cranking, something into production, I'm in my masculine energy. Absolutely. And I want to be in that masculine energy because that's how I'm productive, is through the masculine energy, through that forward momentum. So knowing all of this about energy, knowing that you can sense energy from other people when you come into a room, you can sense energy, from, there's just energy all around. When you're out in the world, you say you go grocery shopping. When you're out at the store, you're interacting with all of these energies, right? And you're just picking them up. It's like little tiny threads. When you go into someone's house that has dog and you come out like I do, and you come out and you have all that like little glitter on you, the dog glitter. Same thing, only it's energy, right? So when you come home, one of the practices that are in here is to have a energetic shower. So it's a visualization process. I've talked many people through it before. Maybe Amanda and Lisa were part of one of my classes when I did talked about an energetic shower. But you can open above you, about 6 to 12 inches above you, open up a light, big light, make it bigger than your arms can reach out, and turn that light on of pure source light. I like to call it Mother Father Source. It's just what I got to at the end, or eternal light, eternal flame, lots of different names, but and you're turning on that pure light and you're just cleansing your energy. It's just clearing you energetically. When we come home from being out, we'll wash our hands because we want to clean off the germs, but we don't think about that energetically. Another way that you can do it is you can do it as an energetic thing, right? You could come home and you could swipe your hands down your body, brushing it away from you, like you're just clearing away all that energy. And then come in the house, like you just dusted yourself off. That's an energetic shower. You're literally clearing all of that energy that you picked up from the environment and from other people, their moods and whatever else they're going through. Then come in and wash your hands and clean out the other germs. So for somebody that does this, like goes out every day and is around people every day, that's a practice you might want to do every day. But for me, I live by myself on 40 acres. And I have my dog, and I have forest, and I have birds, and I have nature all around me. So I'm very grounded, and I'm also very disconnected from energy a lot. So I don't have to do that very often. But when I go out, that might be, say, twice a month, 3 times a month, 4 times a month, I don't know, whatever, once a week, let's say. If I went out once a week, then I would have a weekly practice of cleansing the energy that way. So this is what the 10-day thing is. You do each of the 10 days. They go through different parts. It's just about orientation and stabilization. So it's nothing, there's no trauma work in it or shadow work or anything like that. I feel that people right now just needed something a little more soft, and that would help them return back to self, or as I say for the course, return to center. And that's that. So definitely, if you're looking for something like that, do check it out. So we're going to continue talking about Christ consciousness, because that's what we teach here on Thursdays. And then and on Tuesdays, we do the weekly celestial alignment. So we know what energies we're working with for the week ahead. So we do that Tuesday to Tuesday. And then sometimes we have surprise lives. Sometimes I'll do lives because maybe I want to do a planetary event, or I want to do a joint meditation, or I'm doing an education thing, or there's some reason. Yesterday, I felt like people could use a soft space. So I did a TikTok live for a little bit, just in the backyard with the birds, because I was feeling a lot of energy, because of all the information that we're inundated with. And we don't want to be blind to it and completely turn it off, but we also have to be cautious how much we're engaging with the news and the information that's coming out. And you have to do soothing, and you have to do all kinds of those things. And And those of us with a history that's in alignment with the news and stuff that's coming out right now, especially those of us who were victims at one point in childhood or, in young adulthood, this information that's coming out is traumatizing us. It's triggering us. And for those who have not worked on their trauma, it can be very, very disorienting and creating a lot of chaos and overwhelm within people's lives. For those of us that are aware, we might be doing some practices for it, or we might be just having, a little more irritation because we've dealt with the bulk of it, but we're still it's just a lot. It's a lot. We weren't meant to see that type of stuff. We weren't meant to ingest it at this level. We weren't meant to do that. It needs to be revealed so that it can be fixed, but understandably guard yourself. And if you don't have any soothing practices, definitely connect, because I definitely have a bunch that I could give you. Aw, I love you, Amanda. I finally read the rest of I read the doing well and then I paused. I didn't read the rest of it, but I'm so happy that you're doing well. And yes, we're all works in progress, right? It's all peeling that onion layer by layer and getting to the truth of who and what you are and how you're meant to actually live, or how you came here to express yourself. Now I have Madonna in my head. I don't know who else has music as their ADHD little thingy. But my mind works in lyrics for sure. Just has to say it. If it's in a song, my head typically starts singing the song. Okay. So we're going to talk about spiritual maturity. Okay. And that is a great segue from what I was talking about before. We know that recently in the files, Deepak came up. And this is where we have to be very careful. It's challenging because I'm trying to think of the best way to approach this topic. We've been taught so much to disregard our own discernment. I shared that example earlier when I said how when we are children and our parents tell us to go and give so-and-so a hug, and our bodies are going, I don't want to, no, like he scares me, or he's icky, or whatever it is, doesn't matter. You have something in your body that's screaming no, and your parents like, go do it anyway, don't embarrass me, or whatever it is. Right? So then you have I have to override my body so that I don't embarrass other people. Right? Like we get ingrained with that. So I lost my train of thought. I literally did. Hi, Amanda. It happens. It'll come back. Spiritual maturity. Hello. Thank you for liking the live. I appreciate you. And thank you for hanging out. But we are meant to use our discernment, but we've been hijacked from that part of us that is connected, that is able to discern. It's felt within our body. It's sensed, right? But we're told to, like I said, override that repeatedly. So when we get into these situations, it's also, we're looking at layers, right? And I talked about my layers too, and how when I first did my healing and I was like, oh, I know what to do. I know what to do. You got to, if you do this and you did this and this and this and this, you can heal your trauma, because that's what I did. I got to this point where life is way different. And I just had this huge burst of energy. Mind, body, spirit, healthy was born that day. And I was like, you need it all. You need balance. You need harmony. You need to have spirit. You need to, and I was just writing everything down about the company. And then I ran out going, I'm going to heal the world. I'm going to heal everybody. I'm going to heal my family. I'm going to heal my friends. I'm going to heal everybody. Lesson 1. That's the wounded healer. The wounded healer thinks it's their responsibility to run around and heal everybody else. But the only one that can save you is you. The only one that heals you is you. And it's, yeah. So we need to return to our own discernment, and we need to go back to a space and time where people aren't necessarily gurus, right? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. But teachers aren't meant to keep you a student forever. And that's the problem with society. Many of the people that stepped out into spirituality saw it as a path to riches. And the distortion and inversion that's at the top utilized them as pawns to take you off track. So you're still looking for someone else to show you the way to your own salvation. Just like the hijack of religion is giving us this other route in which we must say, you are going to save me. Or for those of us that are still, are atheists or are part of the, have not, are still, in the matrix, for them, then maybe the government's the one that's going to save them, right? But that's not the truth. The only one that can do anything for you is you. And yes, there are other circumstances. Of course, we can go into a whole host of them. My brain gave up a couple already, right? It can be like, well, what if I was imprisoned? How can I save myself? Well, what did you do to get imprisoned? Well, what if it was wrongfully imprisoned, right? And people can do that. They'll just keep going and going and going and going until, because they're trying to find that little bit of hole in that theory. And we can continue on and determine, determine those things. There are many times where people align or situations align that absolutely help you along your path. And I believe firmly that we made these agreements beforehand. I made an agreement with my friend that they were going to be here for me during this part of my journey to assist me here. And I would assist them with this. And then maybe we'd stay friends forever. Maybe we part and, go on our separate journeys. But we made these agreements that we were going to help. And it's through relationship that we do the most growth. Thank you, love. So we have to remember it's not about seeking a savior outside of us or seeking someone that's going to fix us or seeking someone that's going to heal us. It's about someone that can teach you how to do it yourself and then set you free. That's what you're looking for. Okay. You can do that on Sha'Ryah. It's education. It's full education. At the end of the education, you walk away with what you walk away with. And as long as you integrate it, because I can't do that part. I can't be the one to tell you that you have to do breath work. I mean, I can tell you got to do breath work, but I can't make you do it. You have to do it. That's what I mean about it's on you how you progress. It's on you what your life is. The habits that you have yesterday are the person you are today. And until you change those habits, which is a consistency thing, you're going to continue to see yesterday. That's just so when we are in our spiritual maturity, it appears as consistent. You go to sleep when you want to, consistently. You communicate clearly. You don't beat around the bush. You don't silent treatment. You don't, right? You clearly communicate clearly. You finish your tasks. You are committed. You keep your commitments. And if you are changing commitments, you go back to that one about clear communication and you communicate that clearly. You don't just bail on people, right? There's integrity, and that's about spiritual maturity, is standing in that integrity, right? This is not dramatic realizations. Having that, maybe a Kundalini experience doesn't mean that you're spiritually mature. What are you doing every day? How do you get up in the morning? How are you moving through the day? How are you interacting with all the other life around you? How stable are you in your actions? Because stabilization means that your actions match what you know, even when no one is watching, right? That's like deciding. So I've written a whole bunch of books, and I have a few series that I've written. And I absolutely love this one series. It's the Unlikely Heroine Chronicles. I'm on book 6 now. And but for me, if that was they haven't sold a lot, right? They've sold a couple here and there. I don't know. I just, one woman show. I'm doing all kinds of things, and that's just who I am, and I love it. But I keep writing them. I keep writing them, and I keep putting them out there. Why? Because they are aligned with me. I love them, and I know they're aligned with other people. When they reach them, whatever, they'll get there. But I just keep doing that, even though there's not that you know, I'm not getting that reflection back to me that it's on point. That's not about me not reflecting on my stuff and going, well, what am I doing? Well, I know what I'm not doing. I'm not marketing it heavily, right? I've never paid for advertisement. I'm completely organic. I'm a one-woman show. I manage 1.5 company because I have a partner in my other company. And I just, you know, here I am learning and growing, learning all these different programs and services and social medias and, you know, like everything that you learn along the way. It's an incredible ride. And I've learned so much in the last 5 years of operating my company. And that's what it is. You keep learning and growing. And you know when you're not growing, when the field becomes really stagnant. And this isn't about that you've made the changes, but nothing's happening. This is when you're stabilized for a very long time. You know, you keep doing the same thing, and nothing's going to change while you're doing the same thing. So as long as you keep in that repetitive cycle of doing the same thing, the field is going to stay the same. And so that is losing my train of thought. Oh my God, that was funny. Someone entered in and I looked at their name and that was all it took. The name was like, and those are the distractions. Okay. I'm going to read my little notes that I have to keep me on point with what I wanted to talk about today, because we talked about a lot of different things. We were talking about patterns. That's when I lost my train of thought. And about, you know, that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing and expecting something different, right? If I'm on autopilot running through my day is going to be the same every day until I make the changes that are necessary. But start with smaller changes. I used to be the person, I'd be like, I'm just going to do it all. And I would do it all at once. And then I would be like a couple of days in, I'd be like, I can't do this. It was too much too soon all at once. You get an injury, right? It's like, I wouldn't run. And then I would just get up and be like, yeah, I can run 3K. I'm not being active right now. Sure, I can walk 16 kilometers. I did that one time. I got 8 kilometers through and wanted to quit. I was done. And then I cried because I was 8 kilometers. So no matter which way I went, I still had to go back 8 kilometers. It was not fun. Not fun at all. I had to learn those things. So when the change will become available, or will become visible, when the tone of your voice, the pacing of your decisions, and how quickly you react under pressure stabilizes, right? So when that becomes consistent, right? So let's say I launched this Return to Center course on Monday. Let's say nothing happens with it. If I get really urgent and I start to change everything about my company, that's me overreacting to that change in the field, right? That's where I'm showing that I'm reacting under pressure, because I'm sitting there going, where is it? 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 It's not here yet. It's not here yet. And then I start to unwind the things that I've created from that space of, this is what I want to create. This is what I feel like there's a change, right? I'm stable in this space of, I created Return to Center, because I feel that many of us are very scattered and fragmented and pulled in all kinds of different directions. And there's this headline and this thing that's meant to take our attention away, and that we could have these little practices to help bring us back to self. I did that from a beautiful space. I made it calmly. I loved recording all of the videos and the content for it and creating the guide. That's where it was created from. But if I start changing because I'm not seeing it respond back to me in the way that I think it should, at the speed that it should, or at the volume that it should, that's me showing that I haven't learned the lesson. I haven't got to that stabilization part. Without stabilization, your awakening becomes cycles of clarity, collapse, clarity, collapse, clarity, collapse, right? I did that for a while. It's exhausting, right? We want to get off of the spiral that's a circle, and we want to get into the spiral that's like this. All right, so the Krystic Path, or as I like to say, the Christosophia, because we are incorporating the divine feminine. This is not about the divine masculine only. And when we're talking about the Christ or the Christos, that is the masculine energy. Sophia was the feminine energy. So we are, so the Christosophia path, it treats realization as something to live with for a while. Instead of seeking that next breakthrough, you learn, sit and integrate, build from that space, then take the next step, right? It's not a constant step. Because if you're just taking steps with information, you're not having any of the opportunity to embody or to live that information. And if it isn't lived, it isn't true. If it isn't lived, it's information, not knowledge or wisdom. Okay. So you practice the current behavior that you're changing. Let's say you've decided, you know what? I want to lose some weight. This would be a big one, right? So you have a couple of things. You have a multitude of things that you can do. Okay. Because weight is a multi-factored thing. You could have relationship things that are impacting your weight. You could have emotional stuff that you need to deal with that's impacting your weight. You could have hormone disruptions that are impacting your weight. It could be a food issue. It could be a movement issue, and so on and so forth. So pick one. Pick one to tackle. Say to yourself, okay, I'm going to clean up my diet first. Stabilize that behavior. Don't change your diet, review your hormones, look at your relationships, go into a big self-healing journey where you're peeling back all your emotional layers, and then lace up your running shoes and decide you got to run a marathon at the same time. Focus on one aspect. When that behavior stabilizes, so you're good, your portions are under control. Then you add the next one, right? Or maybe you just decide my first step to cleaning up my health is going to be just to eliminate processed foods. That would be a significant thing for your health, and it would be a pretty big undertaking. It's not like it would be quick to do that. A friend of mine once said, I don't know how it is to live like you. Like, I can't imagine. And I'm like, actually, it's not hard. Once you find the products that are good for you, you just buy those products, and then it's easy, right? And it actually makes it really easy because I don't have to go up and down, unless I'm at a new grocery store. Once I know where my stuff is, I just go and get it. So I have the spot I know to go where I get my milk, and if I'm having milk or if I'm using dairy products, I know where I go for those. I know where I go for my vegetables. I know where I go for my health foods. Like, I just know the stores that I go to and where the supplies are from the companies that I support. So when you're stressed, like, everything just changes though. Right? Then you start to speak differently, you start to plan differently, and you start to respond differently. So it's important to pay attention to those things. Those are your cues, right? When I'm really stressed out, I'm going to talk faster, right? I'm going to get more energetic. And, so my energy gets bigger, and that can come out as passion, but it can come out very fiery in the sense that it could come out as defensive, no, more aggression, right? Like, because when it's just that energy, right? That energy. So I know that about me. So I also know my dog. That's another thing. I can reflect on the energies in the environment around me. If I'm working on the computer and I get frustrated because, say, my computer's being silly, or I've been having problems with my phone. Today I was late because my phone just doesn't work. And then I'm like, come on, screen open up, come on. So I like to go live at 1:44, of course, it's cool time. But most times it's 2. I should just move it to 3 or something. I should just move it. I'm kidding. But I'm tapping on, and it wouldn't work. And as I get frustrated at the phone, and I'm like, oh, my dog's out of the room. He gets up and he leaves. He senses that. Now, I know it's a minor frustration. I know I'm not really upset. I'm not in a really bad space, but that's how sensitive he is to the subtle change in my energy. And when I see him do that, that's a cue for me to go, hey, getting a little worked up over a device, are we? Like, maybe it's just time to put it down. Maybe that's what the phone's telling you. Don't be on it right now. So I put it down and I went and did a few things. Actually, my mom ended up calling me. So had I been online, I possibly would have gotten interrupted anyway. And, I just did a few things. 2:00, tap, tap, phone turned on perfectly. I was able to set it up and go live. And that's how easy it was. When things are showing up, use those as cues to where you are. So if you're, making decisions through like this little, like more of an urgent energy, then that is more likely coming from a space of stress. There's something out of alignment. It's not coming from that really grounded, safe space, because then you're going to make your decisions slowly, maybe not as slow as some people, because I'm still going to probably make it faster decision than somebody, maybe, someone that has a little more, say, Virgo energy or something like that, because Virgo is about refinement and mastery. So Virgo's going to, tweak things. And if you're making a decision through that concept, right, then you're going to be looking at, is this the right decision, or is this the better pathway? So that would be a slower processing. So when the truth feels normal rather than intense, the next expansion opens without destabilizing the current one. Back to where we were talking about weight. Once you get to the point where it doesn't bother you, to go into the grocery store and purchase the foods that you're purchasing that are not heavily processed, to eat in a very holistic way. Once you've established that and it's just easy, then you can expand to the next one. Okay, what am I going to do next to work on this, right? What is the next thing? Am I going to tackle, maybe your hormones have adjusted themselves really well because you nailed the processed food out of the way right away. So you've already seen the benefit to your hormones. Maybe you decide, hey, you know what? I've got food in a good space. My next thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to incorporate some sort of exercise, some sort of movement in my day, and do that. And then when that stabilizes, then you do the next thing, right? It's not about all at once. And I tried that. It can be overwhelming. So, do it slowly. So I always like to do an embodiment practice in every single one of my lives. And I also used to do journals with every live. That was crazy. But But we're going to still do the embodiment practice. And so if you're in a spot where you can put your phone down and connect to your body, you can close your eyes. I like closing my eyes. I close my eyes with you so you don't feel weird. I don't need to, but I do. I just think it's kind of funny. But I'm involved with you. Okay. So we're going to do this at the same time. So what I want you to do is I just want you to bring your attention to your breath and your body. You don't even have to change anything right now. Maybe you're just noting where your breath is. Maybe you're feeling heaviness in one spot of your body or tension, or you're just feeling weight. I feel myself weighted into my feet. I feel my breath is slow and deep. As we center into our breath and our body, I just want you to recall one realization that you had from this week. Maybe you read some post somewhere, or you had an aha moment, or you saw a pattern clearly for what it was, or the truth was revealed to you in a spectacular way. Maybe it was subtle. Now, is there a behavior today that you can see that reflects that behavior? Maybe you had that aha moment that you didn't have to be so hard on yourself. And you can reflect that the behavior you're seeing now is less criticism and name calling, or you're catching yourself as soon as you start going into, hey, you shoulda, coulda, woulda, or why haven't you done this yet? Whatever it is, that heaviness that you put on your own shoulders, which usually comes from a generation before that gave it to you because they received it from the generation before. And all you have to do is put it down, refuse to carry it with you, and refuse to pass it on anymore. And start with self. Now, from this space, I just want you to think about what the next action is that you can take. This isn't about making a big plan for the future. This is just the next action that you can take. And then you can just let yourself settle, let the body settle. Sometimes when we have that thought of the next action, our body can feel very charged, or maybe we feel a little nervous, might have some emotions coming up from what the action is asking us to take, or what it's asking us to do. So just allow that to settle. And slow that breathing and deepen it and focus on your body again. And then you can come back whenever you're ready. Okay, so I got a couple closing little tidbits, some beautiful little nuggets. I think these need to go on a post, and it is change held steadily becomes growth. Change chased urgently becomes exhaustion. It's a good one. Hello, Chico. It's a good one. I didn't even drink my tea. It was such a good session. I really enjoyed that one. That was really good. So let integration lead your expansion. So once you've integrated the previous stuff, then step to the next level. Okay. We're not meant to keep if we just keep, like I said, if we just keep getting more and more information without applying it, it doesn't become that embodied wisdom or knowledge. It just stays as information. And it's almost no better than a self-help book that just sits there and decorates your shelf instead of helping yourself. There. Well, thank you for hanging out with me. That was actually a decent live. We almost got to an hour and a half. I am making my very own deck of oracle cards, and I decided to hand paint them all. I'm definitely going to have to flatten them out. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the gifts and all the likes and everything. I just threw my cards on the floor, by just threw them on the way. So these are cards for a deck that's on the monad. So this one is the flame card number 1, and it is the flame that breathes creation into form. And then I painted card number 2, which is the flame of divine will. And then flame 3, which is the flame of discernment. And then flame 4, which is the flame of celestial memory. And then flame 5, which is the flame of alignment. Awesome. I'm here Tuesdays and Thursdays between 1:45 to 2 p.m. Eastern. Right now, my phone's being really weird. I was actually at 2 o'clock, I go live. So if my phone hadn't worked at that point, I just wouldn't have went live on that one stream and just done the live on the other ones. On Tuesdays, I focus on the celestial alignment and what's going on, but you always get whatever else I talk about. I kind of just channel whatever comes through. And when I mean channel, it's just like, I'm connected in alignment. And so it's just what comes through, what comes through with ease, not through my thoughts. It's beyond thought. So that's what I mean by channeling, and it's from me. So Tuesdays, I do the celestial alignment for the week, looking at whatever the transitions are and how we can work with those energies. And then on Thursdays, I go and we're talking about Chris Sophia way and Christ consciousness, like all of that stuff. So yeah, living the truth and embodied way, I guess would be another way to call it. But yeah, I do have a free group at my website on Sha'Ryah, which is linked in my profile. I have a free group, membership group at my website called Temple of Light. So feel free to join that. I post a bunch of stuff in there, and of course there's other stuff at the site, but that one's free and I don't hassle you. It's whatever you want to ingest from the group, that's on you. But I'll be back on Thursday. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I love you guys. Okay. And we will see you on Tuesday, unless there's a surprise, and that'll be a surprise for me too, because I have no plans. Surprise. All right. We're going to shut off this one first, because otherwise it gets these two make noises.